a minute. But we want to get to the big story of the day that really so many people are talking about, not only here in Michigan, but across the country. New numbers in the potential presidential matchup here in Michigan. And the results are very interesting for both the Biden and the Trump campaigns. Go ahead and take a look. Our exclusive WDIV Detroit News poll shows that if the 24 election was held today between President Biden and former President Trump, 46% of Michigan voters would go for Trump. 38% would choose Biden. And if you look at the unfavorable numbers, Biden has a 57% unfavorable rating with a 47% unfavorable for Trump. There is a lot more to this exclusive poll that should send off alarms for both parties. Joining me now is our pollster, Richard Zuba, who conducted this research, of course, with the Glenn Gariff Group. It's good to see you, Richard. I mean, when you look at some of these numbers, give us the methodology. How many people did you poll, and what time frame are we talking about?
Sure. What we did was a 600 sample survey. It was a live operator telephone survey. 86% of people were contacted by cell phone, 14% by landline. And it occurred from January 2nd through the 6th. It's got a margin of error of plus or minus 4%, as most polls would.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these closer numbers. I mean, the interesting question that you then asked voters after that big, if it's a matchup today was when asked if Biden or Trump deserve to be reelected or if they should allow someone else to do a better job, 16% of voters said Biden deserves reelection, only 16%, while 76% said someone else should be given a chance to do better. What kind of signal should that be sending to the Biden campaign about right now what voters in Michigan are thinking?
Well, we are in this very rare election. For the first time in our lifetimes, we have two presidents running against each other. It's never happened before. And so we can ask a re-elect question on each of these. And, anything that drops below 50 for an elected official is a signal there's some vulnerability. If it's under 40, you should be worried. So when we ask Donald Trump, his re-elect number is 32. Really bad numbers. Until you ask Joe Biden, and as you said, it comes in at 16.7. These are huge, enormous red flags for the Biden campaign. In my 40 years of polling Michigan, I've never seen an elected official have a re-elect number of 16.7%. Not even close.
Yeah, and we're go ahead.
One of the signals is that Joe Biden is losing support within his own Democratic Party. Amongst base Democrats, that number is only at 41% re-elect. This should be the heart of his supporters.
Yeah, and we're seeing headlines coming out today that the president is expected to visit Michigan sometime soon, of course. I think what was really interesting, too, when you look at the Trump campaign, you asked the question in this poll, if Trump is convicted of a crime, Michigan voters say 58% of them said that a conviction would have no influence on their decision. So if you're the Trump campaign and you see this?
Well, let's put that in perspective. There's a lot of people who have already made their decision for or against Donald Trump. Nothing's going to shift that. So one thing we did was we looked specifically at people who said they were voting for Donald Trump. And we asked them, would this make a difference to you? 11% said it would make them less likely to vote for him. And 12% said they just weren't sure. So at the very top, 23% of Trump voters will at least consider a conviction, potential conviction in changing their vote. So I think we need to dispel ourselves of this notion that there's going to be some great big shift that occurs. But if the race becomes close, that's when a potential conviction will start to play a role and start to have an influence on the margins in a close race.
All right. And so, of course, we're all watching this and waiting for some kind of decision because we know that Maine and Colorado, their Supreme Courts have said that Trump should not be on the primary ballot there. You asked a question in this poll. Michigan voters were asked if the U.S. Supreme Court should disqualify Trump from running for president due to his role in connection with January 6, 2021 insurrection. Michigan voters responded saying 38% said the Supreme Court should disqualify Trump from winning, but 57% said Trump should be left on the ballot for voters to decide on this one.
I'm actually not surprised by these numbers. All the polling I do shows that the one thing voters don't like is to have their voice tampered with or taken away. And this is one of those situations where the voters are saying, whether they agree with Donald Trump or not, let us make the decision here. One of the interesting things I saw was the reporters for the Detroit News talked to some of the people in the poll, and one of them said they didn't trust 9 people making this decision for them. And they wanted, I think that's reflective of what we see here, that voters think they should make this decision. They should be the final decision maker on this.
All right, so this is a partner poll with, of course, us here at WDIV and the Detroit News, and you're releasing numbers as things go on right now. What else surprised you from what has been released so far? And then give us a sense of some of the other things that we're going to be able to be seeing out of these numbers releasing later on today.
Well, one of the questions we asked was, if you have an unfavorable view of either Donald Trump or Joe Biden, we asked in an open-ended question, why? And we recorded their own words. And this becomes very valuable because you hear the language of the voters here. And in the case of Donald Trump, those who have an unfavorable view very clearly used words like, he's a criminal, he belongs in jail, he's a liar. We heard very different words for Joe Biden. What we heard there was, he's too old, he's mentally unfit, and we even repeatedly heard the word dementia. That is why voters have shifted their views so much on Joe Biden, because they just view him as too old. And it really shows up with those voters under 40 who just are not even going to consider him.
Yeah, words matter on this one. All right, what can we look forward to a little bit later on today?
Well, I think what we're going to be coming out with is some numbers on the U.S. Senate race in Michigan. And, this race is going to be a very important race for control of the U.S. Senate. And we're in that rare position of having an open seat in Michigan, which is exciting. That doesn't happen very often in this state.
All right, 24. Buckle up. It's going to be quite a year. Of course, Richard Zuba, you're going to be in the middle of all of it. We appreciate your time. We'll look forward to more polling as they come out this afternoon. You take care. I'll talk to you soon. All right, again, there are reports that Joe Biden is heading to Michigan soon for a campaign visit. And of course, we're going to have all those poll results for you. Just go to clickondetroit.com, and then this afternoon releasing what the poll numbers are for the Senate seat, open Senate seat here in Michigan.